Truworths incorporates the Truworths Man, YDE, Identity and Daniel Hechter brands.
Exactly, so multi-branded here in this country, and it also acquired a business called the Office Group, which is UK-based and targets specifically women and professional women at that. That's their sort of niche over there, apparently.
Market cap here, 36.8 billion. Price to earnings ratio of 12.7, a dividend yield of 5.2%. You want to again look at the share price graph before we continue our discussion, just to give us some sense of where we stand with Truworths?
We'll see that in a moment, but I mean it's going to reflect the same sort of pattern trend, a bit spotty in recent times. There you go, actually, there you go. Thank you very much. 5-year chart, so not really shooting the lights out.
Not looking great, is it?
Over a longer period, but looking better in 2015.
Why would this one be? Look, you say that there's a similar trend, but it's not exactly the same trend that we're seeing with Mr. Price, who's on an uptick. Truworths looks as though it's still on a downward spiral.
This year, yeah.
And I think a lot of it speaks to those concerns around the South African consumer. And let's not forget, they did this office deal, I think when the rand was still trading at 22. So really quite a bad time to be doing deals into the UK. And just last week, the share came under tremendous pressure just for that office exposure. But I just don't think it has that same quality element that we have in a Woolies. I mean, your brands aren't the top of the mind brands that I think you would necessarily shop at. And also a lot of their sales are dependent on credit sales. And I think that's why we see...
And credit with a consumer that is, in the short term at least, going to come under more pressure, not a good place to be.
So just to clarify, Office exclusively UK?
UK, with a bit of an online sales presence
so that's
into the rest of the Eurozone.
Concern, because who knows, I mean the general outlook now is that we're going to have a much more worried UK consumer perhaps because of uncertainty regarding
that exposure, but that could be overdone on the downside given the furore that we saw unfolding over Brexit.
It could, but I think they paid about 3.5 billion rand when the rand was at 22, so I think that's also a question mark there.
The other question mark with Truworths is that they do have to come up with a new succession plan, because remember, Michael Mark, CEO for like 20 years, they appointed a guy called Jean-Christophe Garbino, who was from a European retailer. He came down here for a while and then he decided he wasn't going to stay, or maybe the board decided he wasn't going to stay. So Mr. Mark is back in a leadership role now with the intention to find a suitable replacement before too long.
So, a couple of overhang issues on Truworths. As a result, are you going to call it hot or not?
I want to ask one more question. As far as you can tell, so credit trends, Truworths was one of the first to develop like a Truworths card, right, that you could use across the group stores, and that was like more than 25 years ago. They've always been pretty good at managing that book. They didn't ever seem to show much stress, even though others were finding, you know, bad debts uprising. Any concerns for you there?
No, I think they've run their credit book very, very well, and they actually used to make quite a bit of money from their credit book, so I think they've managed that well. But it's just the consumer having to rely on credit for the last couple of years, as we have mentioned, and that's my biggest concern.
But at 12 PE, so that's low for the sector.
It doesn't seem demanding. My question is just on the quality of those brands, of those underlying brands, and
the exposure to the UK. Hot or not?
I'm going to go not hot on this one, and that's been the call that we've made over time. And it's interesting that it's had such a slide.
And you've given Grant a fair chance to change his stance to be positive on it, but I think we're getting a not hot from your corner as well.
Yes, I'm joining Paul. I'm not on this one.